Okay, cool. Boom, going live. What's up, YouTube? Going live here. I got our in-studio audience here at DeFi Academy. What's up, Instagram? Thanks for joining me today. I want to talk about how to trade crypto in times of war and crisis, and just my thoughts from being 30 years in the banking world and what I see happening right now. If you're on Zoom, give me thumbs up and turn cameras on if you can. Jeffrey, good to see you. Steve Anon, good to see you. Nikki, good to see you. Max, everybody here, I appreciate. If you're coming late, great. Any questions you have, leave them in any of these comments, and my team is pulling them in, and I'm going to grab them at the end and answer those questions. So what I want to do today is take 30 minutes and give you my perspectives on how to trade crypto in times of war and crisis. And I want to talk about the current recent events, the sell-off in crypto, the pop back in crypto, and the S&P 500. And I want to conclude with what I call an information war, which I think is almost more pressing than what we see now as a ground war. And that's something that we all need to be aware of. So again, thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. It's Friday afternoon here in London, and I'm wearing orange for all of you to just kind of welcome you in here. Let me just start by saying that I don't really like to see any of these events. You know, London Real has been built on 10 years of us trying to understand each other better and trying to find common ground with each other and trying to find ways that we can kind of share communities. The theme on London Real is we are all one. So I don't like seeing things where, you know, violence is being used, conflict is happening, and people's lives are turning upside down. So that pains me to see. I don't like seeing any type of situation, and I'm sending lots of peace and love out to everybody who's there on the ground, who's dealing with this situation. I know a lot of people in the Ukraine, including some of the developers and some of our portfolio companies in London Real Ventures. I have friends there and friends of friends. So again, just sending you all of our love and support from us. And we want to just try to make sure that we get through this conflict in the best way possible. And hopefully we don't need to do this in the future. That being said, I'd like to take a look at this situation and try to react to it in a non-emotional way, but in a way where we can look at it the way that the financial markets look at this, the way that the markets look at these things, because that's the way I was trained to look at things when I became a Wall Street trader in 1993. And again, I've seen a lot of catastrophic events as a trader, a lot. I've been through the Asian crisis. I've been through, strangely enough, the Russian crisis, the mortgage crisis. I've seen lots of different invasions launched, and I've watched the financial markets happen on the back of it. And guess what happens? Financial markets stay open and they react. And all of you are involved in these financial markets through your pension funds, through your stock holdings. Let me just take a look at the Zoom audience here and turn your cameras on, please. Thumbs up if you have stocks right now in your portfolio or in your pension funds or anything that's probably affected by this move. Okay. Thumbs up if you have any crypto that's been affected by this move. Okay. A lot of people here, right? And it's gone down. And so, look, the truth is that all of our livelihoods goes up and down on the back of this. We've seen oil prices spike because Russia's a big oil supplier, and there's a big uncertainty around sanctions and even pipelines. And of course, that squeezes all companies because they use those resources. And on top of that, we were already looking at Fed rate hikes in the US, which was going to put us into a bear market in equities. And all of this comes around into crypto, and I want to talk about all of those points today. But I want to zoom out. And one of my great guests on London Real is BitBoy Crypto, and he says, when in doubt, zoom out. And I like to zoom out in times like these and try not to get caught up in the panic and the emotion and the headlines and try to look at this from a real practical standpoint. What can we do? What can we control? And again, I always say, you know, focus on what you can control. Don't focus on what you can't control. So what can you control right now? Well, you know, you can control your brain, your financial decisions. And I mean, if you're locally, maybe you can get out of there. But otherwise, I don't like to focus on things I can't control. Does that concept make sense to everybody here on Zoom, at least so far, as far as what I'm talking about? I want to go a little deeper on that. Again, if you want to join us in Zoom, in our in-studio audience, go to londonreal.tv/Zoom. I'm taking questions here. If you have any questions, I'll be answering them at the end. So again, let's look at this whole scenario. First of all, we're seeing a lot of headlines on the back of this, and we should. We haven't really seen troops invade anything for a while, although the Russians did go into Crimea, which is a peninsula kind of in Ukraine 8 years ago in 2014. It wasn't as hot of an action, but it was an action, and they seized territory. So we have seen things like this before, but obviously the news media wants your attention. They want your clicks, and so they are taking this story as far as they can. So we just need to be aware of, that's what the media does. The media tries to get your attention. It tries to get you emotionally invested. And in crypto, it tries to get you to trade on the back of that information. Does everyone here know what I'm talking about? Just thumbs up if you do. All right, they're trying sometimes to take advantage of this situation. And if you've graduated from my Crypto and DeFi Academy, by the way, raise your hand if you're on Zoom, if you're one of my graduates. I see a bunch of you here. What's up, Michael? What's up, Alan? What's up, John? What's up, Mohammed? You know that I would rather you trade less frequently than more frequently, right? Most of these apps and companies and centralized exchanges, they want you on this thing 24/7, checking crypto prices with their green and their red flashes, getting you to freak out at 3 in the morning, trying to find out what's happening in Ukraine so you can buy or sell your crypto. I don't think that's smart. I think you should think long-term and make intelligent decisions. And that's what I want to talk about today. So I want to bring my first slide up, and I think this is a really important slide. And if you want to see this slide, just come to Zoom. It's londonreal.tv/Zoom. And this is a little bit of a perspective. And I'm going to show you here right now what the equity markets did in basically the year around the Vietnam War, the Gulf War, the Afghanistan War, the Iraq War, the Crimean War, which I mentioned recently 8 years ago when Russia moved into Ukraine. And then, of course, now what's going to happen now? Just on Zoom. Can everybody see that chart okay on Zoom, all right? Just thumbs up. Thanks, Michael. I see you here, John, as well. This is just an interesting point because, again, markets keep trading regardless of what happens on the ground. There's still global supplies of commodities. People still get up every day. Companies have to function. And if you look at some of these charts, you can see that many times immediately after the invasions and wars, the equity market actually rallies. It actually goes up because of two reasons. First of all, a lot of times the news of the invasion was already priced into the market. So you can see on some of these graphs, if you look at the Iraq War, look at the Vietnam War, look at the Gulf War, and the Afghanistan War, can everyone see the markets came off before the war? Can everyone see they kind of crashed down before the invasion? Now, why is this? Well, because we heard signals, right? We've heard for a week or two that this was pending. Trust me, when the embassy folks start leaving the country, something's happening. They are the first to know. We saw U.S. embassy folks, UK embassy folks, even NATO troops leaving the area because they knew it was not the place to be. So a lot of this has been priced into the market. Now, Putin went in pretty hard and pretty hot here because ultimately he's looking for a bit of a media event as well as what he wants. He wants a pattern interrupt. He wants to get your attention and get your emotion, and he's using this because it will give him power to do many things in the future. And so market already priced in some of that. Clearly, he went in a little hotter, and the market reacted yesterday on the back of it. We saw the S&P 500 go down, and we saw crypto sell off to where Bitcoin hit, I think, a recent low of $30,000. Did everybody kind of see that or feel that here on Zoom? Yeah, of course we did, right? Okay, if you're coming here late to Zoom, again, turn cameras on and leave me questions in the bottom. I'm going to come to them shortly. But this is what we saw. And so it's important to always just remember that many times those equity markets do recover because the world just takes it all, with perspective and says, okay, what's really going to happen here? And again, it's never good when these situations happen, but I'm also trying to say, okay, what's really going to happen long term? Is this really going to create a crisis with Europe? Is the US really going to get involved here? Or is this going to be something that happens locally? Is it a projection of power? Is it one of the things that Russia can control? Russia is really losing the global GDP race. They have a couple things going for them. They have oil and they have a military, and they very good at doing asymmetric warfare. So they can create a lot of scare, fright, and damage with a little bit of efforts, right? Whether that's poisoning someone in Salisbury here in the UK or rolling into Ukraine, they can get a big attention grab and they can get power on the back of it. But that doesn't mean that we should be the first to be dumping everything in our portfolio because it doesn't necessarily have massive implications globally. And that's what I want to look at as far as the market. So does that just concept kind of make a little bit more sense to just what everyone's happening here? I want you to really think about those graphs because I would argue that this is not kind of a total end of the world situation. And again, smart money knows when to buy these dips. And so this is why I always tell people in my Crypto and DeFi Academy, we are taking a 10-year perspective. We believe that crypto is a fundamental shift in technology and a human paradigm shift, and that we're invested in this space regardless. And let me say one thing that I said to my accelerators last night in my Kings of DeFi call. I said this: whatever happens in Ukraine, whatever in Singapore, whatever even happens in the state of California when it comes to crypto, it's not going to stop the adoption of this incredible new technology. Does everyone here on Zoom understand that concept that I'm making? You know, it really is bigger than this. It's bigger than a single US regulation. It's bigger than China banning Bitcoin, right? What happens when China bans Bitcoin? What happens to the price of Bitcoin? It goes up, right? What happens when China banned Facebook? The price went up. What happened when China banned Google? The price went up. So again, one thing I talk about on my courses is understanding that the media narrative has its own agenda. It's an information war, which I'll talk about in my last point. There's also the real life situation. And never the two shall meet in many times, all right? The people got to know what I'm talking about here. So be careful when you read these headlines. And I'm going to put up a front page of the New York Times this morning, and I'm going to show you what even the great institution of the New York Times does when it comes to hijacking your attention for their own media agenda. It's not necessarily the smartest way to trade, all right? So if everybody's still with me here, are you zoomed out and have you kind of taken your emotions down a few notches so we can talk about how to trade this? Is everybody with me so far? Okay. And that's why it's really good to have a peer group of people like we have in our academy where we can just talk to each other and say, hey guys, how we feeling here? Is this crazy? Is this not? My wife is like glued to the news all day. I'm like, honey, what are you doing? You know, there's nothing we can do right now to control this situation. So let's not get caught up in the emotional roller coaster of a news event. Let's focus on what we can control. What I can control today is educating you. I can control my own education. And look, I'm still investing in this space because I still love this space in the next 10 years. So that's my first perspective. I want to now talk about where we are in crypto, right? Bitcoin touched some recent lows of 30,000. Ethereum was down near around 2,400, I think, and now it's popped a little bit today, as far as the S&P 500 as well. But I'd like to give us all a good perspective on where we are in the markets right now. So I'm going to put this graph up here. This is a long-term graph right here of the price of Ethereum. It's a total. Yeah, no, the price of Ethereum is what that is, of course. So we see the price of Ethereum, here's a long-term. Can everyone see this graph, by the way, just what's up here? And again, if you're on YouTube or Instagram, you can come join us at LondonReal.tv/Zoom. But what you'll see here is a little bit of a check when it comes to the price, because you'll see that over the long run, where Ethereum has been, you've seen it go as high as, what is that, $4,779. Right now, we're right around, what, 22,584. You know, if I had told my students in the DeFi Academy 3 months ago that you could buy Ethereum half price, well, first of all, who would have bought it half price 3 months ago? You know, this would have been potentially a dream come true for a lot of my students. And guess what? Now we're here. So it's important to look at the historic value of these assets. And while there's a lot of panic, and we're seeing military vehicles, and we're seeing these huge front page headlines in the New York Times, you're also looking at some pretty attractive prices, is what I'm saying. And again, look at some of these lower support levels. I mean, you haven't seen Ethereum down to like the 1900 level. Look at this graph back until, 2021. Back in 2020, Ethereum was trading very, very low, very low. We're talking hundreds of dollars. So it's important to remember how far we've come and also how high it was. And again, as you know, if you're in my Kings of DeFi or DeFi Academy, I call Ethereum one of the two blue chips of crypto alongside with Bitcoin. I'm not saying crypto is a safe asset class. It's not. But those two are the safest assets in crypto. And I'm telling you, the smart money are looking at these long-term perspective graphs, and they're saying, there could be buying opportunities here. And so I'd like everybody to put this in perspective and just think about the levels separate from the news. We had already come off. We were already expecting a Fed rate hike in America, which meant equities were going to come off. And then we're even lower than that. So it's not like this happened 3 months ago when Bitcoin was at an all-time high. This is happening now. And it's just good to look at these long-term prices. And so, again, at some point, these levels are starting to look very attractive. And, like I said, 3 months ago, my students thought it was too late. They were never going to be able to get any kind of crypto assets at some decent prices. And now we're seeing that could be true. It's very hard to buy lows. The human brain and consciousness can't even comprehend buying a low. Does that just make sense to everybody here on Zoom? Right? You're always thinking, oh, I'm going to get it a little bit cheaper. And then you waited too long, right? Has anyone ever done that on Zoom? I'm going to wait till it goes a little lower. And then it goes back to 67. You can literally, yesterday, you could have bought 2 Bitcoin for the price of 1 in October. That's literally where it was. And yet most people will still sit on their hands and wait until it goes back up and probably buy the highs and then again probably sell the lows, because that's what we do as humans. That's why I created our Crypto and DeFi Academy, so we could try to teach you how to trade, which is the opposite of your human emotions. Does everyone here on Zoom at least understand that that's probably true, right? As humans, we tend to buy high, we panic when everyone else is buying this asset, and we tend to sell low when everyone loses faith and we think, oh my gosh, we are crazy. And or the world looks like it's gonna end, it's gonna be World War III. I spent my whole childhood worrying about World War III. I grew up in America during the Soviet Union, and the Cold War was there. I watched Rocky IV. Anybody watch Rocky IV, right? It was Ivan Drago against Rocky. I literally worried about nuclear bombs every night I went to bed when I was 10 years old, right? Somebody should be sued for that. That'll happen later. I really worried about that, and a shot was never fired, all right? So we have to remember that this whole panic is always inside of us, and I honestly do not think we're close to World War III. I don't think the U.S. wants anything to do with this. Europe doesn't want anything to do with this either, and it's just a dangerous situation with no upside. But it sells papers, it gets clicks, and guess what? It gets you to buy crypto. Now, let me tell you one other thing. I got a few friends that have centralized exchanges, and I messaged them yesterday and say, oh man, is this really hard for you? And they say, no, we love volatility. We love volatility, because all the retail people end up trying to buy and sell, and guess what? We all make money. So again, inside my academy, I try to get you to trade less frequently, think more long-term, and that's one of the things I want to talk about today. All right, everybody with me here so far? If you got any questions, stick them in the chat. If you're following me here on YouTube or on Instagram, then come over here to London Real Life TV/Zoom. And I want to get into my second point here, which is this. You have to watch the S&P 500 or stock markets in America now if you're in the crypto. If you're in crypto, you have to watch the stock market. Does everyone at least understand that concept here that's with me here on Zoom? Now, if you're an old school crypto person, raise your hand if you've been in crypto for more than 2 years. Come on, I can see some of you. You got some faces, right? All right, Rids, we got you as well. Jose, a few other Joans as well. Okay, Bartos. Look, 3 years ago, crypto had nothing to do with the S&P 500, right? Like, they were very independent markets. It was a smaller market. But nowadays, because it's so big, you got a lot of asset holders in there that a lot of them go, and when they choose to sell things, they choose to sell a lot of things. They'll sell their bonds, they'll sell their stocks, they'll sell their crypto. When they go to buy things, they'll choose to buy a lot of things. And so now, welcome to the club. Crypto has now become more correlated to stock markets, which means when you look at the sell-off yesterday, yes, you can look at the news, but you're going to have to look at the S&P 500, because the stock market in America, which is the valuation of all of the corporate interests in America, is now highly correlated to crypto. And let's take a look at what the S&P 500 did yesterday versus Bitcoin. So I'm going to put this price graph up here on the screen, and we're literally going to see what happens, right? What we saw was the S&P 500 sell off. And by the way, this is an index of 500 of the biggest stocks in America. And it's put together as an index. And you can see this. Can everybody see this big dip in Bitcoin and this very similar dip in the S&P 500? Now, you might say, well, Brian, what does Bitcoin have to do with, a stock like Coca-Cola or Ford Motor Company or Apple Computer or anything like that? What people do is, when they're worried about the profitability of the future, they dump those assets, they sell stocks. Now, why would you be worried about the profitability of the future? Well, first of all, we saw oil prices go up on the back of this Russian invasion. Russia supplies a lot of oil to the world. And when oil prices goes up, it means everything's more expensive. Everything, including your cup of coffee at Starbucks. And on top of that, you've got panic, you've got supply chains, and people are worried about the economy being strong. And guess what? You've got corporates' earnings, they go down. All the projected earnings in the future go down, and people sell stocks on the back of it. It's quite simple. And so that's the first thing people do, is they sell assets. They sell stocks, they'll sell bonds, they'll sell other assets and get into cash, because it's a safer place to be. And guess what? We're seeing the same thing happen in crypto. And this is what people do when they're scared, they're panicked, they're uncertain. They want to get out of things and get into something stable or more stable, which is the US dollar. And so, again, what we're seeing these days happen a lot is that crypto is highly correlated to the stock market. Now, let me just say one thing about the stock market that we're not talking about today that we should be talking about. The stock market was already hurting. The stock market was already potentially in a bear market because the Fed is going to raise interest rates in America because it thinks that maybe the economy is going a little bit too fast. It's got to slow things down, and that's naturally going to send stocks lower. They were already low, and this pushed it even further on the back of that. And so the big elephant in the room here is really what's going to happen in America when it comes to interest rates and printing of money. And that's something that we're not talking about as much as we are this kind of war scenario. And so going forward, we've got to watch both of these. I was on a call last night with my Kings of DeFi course. We have a very senior Wall Street analyst in there, and she was dropping science on us as far as the S&P 500 correlation, as far as the Fed rate hike, which we're expecting later this year. We were expecting 50 basis points, but she was saying, look, on the back of this crisis, it's probably only going to be 25 basis points. And, she was just saying, look, we could still see sell-offs more here in equities, but at some point there will be buying interest, maybe 5% lower, maybe 10% lower, long-term buyers. When it comes to crypto, it's a similar situation. You saw that long-term graph. Some of these opportunities look very attractive, but also there's people panicking out there. There's people freaking out. And there's that old phrase. Has anyone ever heard this phrase? When there's blood in the streets, buy real estate, right? Has anyone ever heard that phrase? I'm probably a bludgeon quote, right? And if you look at the real smart generational wealth over hundreds of years, these groups, families understand when to buy assets, and they're usually buying cheap assets when the public is panicking. Does everyone understand that, right? Look at these crises. Look, I went through the mortgage crisis in '08. I was a broker here in the city of London. I saw that thing go so far down. Everybody was crying. And guess what happened? 4 years later, it had bounced back with a vengeance. Again, I've seen the Russian crisis. I've seen the Asian crisis. I've seen the mortgage crisis. I've seen invasions into many countries. And guess what? The world goes on, and the world keeps expanding, and there are always great levels to get into these assets. And so I think it's a really important thing to understand. But if you're in crypto, guess what? You are now going to be watching the S&P 500 for a little while because these are highly correlated, and it shows the inflow of assets in and out of cash. And from now on, these things are going to be joined at the hip. You should know that. That being said, we're still huge fans of crypto and DeFi. That's what we teach inside our academy. That's why we brought a bunch of you through our 4-week blockchain bootcamp. And that's what we do. We show you how to get into these assets now because this is a no-brainer for me. This is going to be the greatest investments of our lifetime. It will easily be the most interesting thing and the most profitable thing you can invest in probably for the rest of your life. But you've got to have the nerve and the grit and the steely eyes to make it through volatility that's just off the charts. And just give me a thumbs up if you agree. Crypto is one of the most volatile things out there. Again, our analyst last night, she said, I've never seen anything so volatile in my life. And this woman has seen everything, from equities to commodities to you name it. And this thing takes the cake. So it takes a real stomach and a long-term perspective to be in this. But this is the future. And let me say one more thing before I get into my final point, which is the information war. What we're seeing right now in crypto is an asset that can't be controlled by the government. And so right now, if you're in Russia, you've got the ruble, right? If you're in Ukraine, you're maybe trying to move around locations right now. I'm guessing the banks are probably not open at this point. If you're in Canada, some of the people there don't even have access to your bank accounts because maybe you were involved in a protest recently. Did everybody see that news in Canada, right? It makes you really want to question your current financial assets, right? Including your fiat currencies. And not just the Russian ruble. I'm talking about the Canadian dollar, maybe the US dollar, maybe the British pound. So it's important now to embrace crypto. And that's why I take people through this program and I get a small percentage of your assets in crypto so you can understand that you can take these things. If I lived in the Ukraine right now, I would feel really good having some crypto and some dollars that I could move between borders right now, that I didn't have to worry about a government, a bank, a currency that I'd have to stress about. I'd want some assets that I know are liquid, that I could even exchange peer-to-peer with someone on the street if I have to. Does everyone here understand that? It's so, so, so important. So if you're here and maybe crypto's new to you, or maybe you're just still a little crypto curious, I'm telling you, this isn't just some convenient thing to have in the future. This is not some way to get rich quick. This is not even something that you should probably learn about in the next couple of years. This is relevant right now. If you live in the Ukraine, if you live in Canada, if you live in most countries around the world, you need an asset that you can control. and that you can move peer-to-peer without somebody telling you what to do, controlling it, blocking it, because it's happening literally by major countries right now. And again, I think this war even highlights it more. I want to finish with a final point, and then I want to answer questions. And that is this, and this is something that I have direct experience with, and it really highlights what's going on here. And I appreciate all the people coming here a little late on Zoom. Turn cameras on if you can. Joseph Wayman, that's a great looking hat you got there. Maheson, great to see you. Jennifer, Damien as well. Jeffrey, good to see you here. If you're on YouTube or Instagram, come join us at LondonReal.tv/Zoom because I'm answering questions. Turn your cameras on if you're here because I'd love to see pretty faces because mine's on as well. But let me talk about something we're not talking about, which is this. The real war that's happening right now is the information war. There's an information war that's being fought right now on your mobile phone in the convenience of your home. This is in your children's rooms, right? This is in your family room. This is in your office at your work. It's the information war that's happening right now on your phone. Guess what? The Russians have been involved in this war as well, but you don't know it's happening because you consume this information and you don't realize that a lot of times it's being used to control you and take your attention to make decisions that maybe you don't want to make. Let me just see thumbs up if you know what I'm talking about here on Zoom. Thumbs down if you think I'm just crazy. I'm one of those weird conspiracy people. Okay. By the way, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I leave that to my guests on London Real. What I am is a realist. I'm a trader. I'm a long-term investor in crypto and DeFi, and I'm an educator. I'm also a parent, and I try to look at these things objectively. The real war here is an information war, right? I was involved in the front lines of the information war in 2020. I was literally on the front lines taking shots from some of the biggest players in the game, and they were trying to control information so they could control you and what you were going to take actions with everything, your health, your actions, your money, everything. Does everybody remember what happened in 2020? Such a long time ago, right? This is real. And so the information war is happening right now in the privacy of your own home. We've seen it in America. 2 protest groups coming head to head in a city of America. It turns out all of the groups on Facebook were created, fabricated. It turns out that there were bricks left on the corner in order to throw at people. And it turns out that those were fabricated in troll farms in Russia and China and all around the world. So when it comes to information wars, we know that we cannot always trust the information that's being shown to us, and we rarely see the information that's not being shown to us. Okay, is everybody just clear on this right now? Which makes me look at this whole recent event in a bit of a perspective. Now, I opened up the New York Times, and I try not to look at this publication because it drives me crazy, because I find what used to be a great institution of objective journalism now completely turned into what I consider clickbait agenda journalism. But this is what the front page looks like today on the New York Times. Let me share that with you. In their big, bold capital letters, by the way, it said the word war yesterday on the New York Times. Russian troops enter Kiev, bracing for their capital. They're putting up all sorts of images of what's happening, and it instills a lot of panic. Now, I'm not saying this is an event that we should be concerned about, and I'm not advocating any type of use of violence at any time in the world. But I'm trying to say is that what the New York Times wants to do, like every other news site in the world wants to do, they don't want to educate you. They want to get your attention so you will watch this thing, click on things, and do things that come from this attention. Is everybody just clear kind of what's happening with this agenda? Same with all your crypto articles, same with your crypto exchanges, same with all the beeps and buzzes that are happening on your phone. Basically, I've turned all my notifications off. But when I see things like that, what I always do is I chuckle at any headline because I always think, oh, okay, what are they trying to get me to do or think? Now, again, I ran to be the next mayor of London for 7 months, and I was covered in all the major newspapers. In the actual paper, I was on their websites, I was on their news, and most of it was absolute nonsense. I'll just tell you, it was. It was, again, clickbait. Let's see if we can get people to pay attention. Make up something super crazy so people pay attention to us, and let's move on to the next one. So when I look at media now, I'm always just thinking, okay, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to inform me? No, you're not. I'm sorry, you're not. Are you trying to scare me? Yes. Are you trying to make me angry? Yes. Are you trying to get me to spend more of my time listening to you and doing what you say? Yes. So I'm always suspicious of information, which is why if you're in my Crypto and DeFi Academy, you know I talk about information diet, right? How many people here remember me talking about that in Module 1 and 2? Andrew Haynes, good to see you, sir. My man with NFTs and Good to see Andrew. One of our members of Kings is here. And so information diet's so important. Be careful of your information sources. Again, my wife's on the phone all day looking at all the panic in Ukraine. I'm like, honey, there's better things we could be doing with our time. If we can help, let's help. Otherwise, let's focus on what we can control. And so again, be always careful of the media's agenda for your time, your actions, which means just be careful about what you consume, how you consume, and what it ultimately means. I'm still watching this situation to find out what's really happening. I don't like what I see, but I also don't think it's something that is there to shock global markets. I just don't. And I'm going to watch how this plays out. But I do think that smart minds will prevail, and these will end up being incredible buying opportunities for lots of people across the board. Can I just get a straw poll on Zoom? How many people agree with me that it's potentially a good buying opportunity? Thumbs down if you disagree and you think it's going lower and this is a bad time to buy. Can I just get an idea? Okay. It's about 50% thumbs up, maybe 60%. And if you are on Zoom, show me your beautiful faces. I'm going to answer questions next. I'm only answering questions if I can see you. So that's my perspective. Always remember we're in an information war, which is more dangerous than any kind of helicopters that Putin rolls in. It's more dangerous than their guns because it literally happens right in the privacy of your own home. It happens to your children, happens to your subconscious, and you don't even know what's happening. So always try to be aware of that. Always try to be aware of what that information war is going, and try to find objective sources, people you can trust, your own perspective, and try to spend more time offline as well, is what I would suggest. Also, have your own assets that you can control, like crypto, and try not to leave it in the fiat currencies, the governments, the banking institutions. I think that's a bad idea. And again, that's why we go big and deep into our Crypto and DeFi Academy. What I'm doing in there is I'm trying to get everybody around the world to wake up and actually get involved and have your hot wallet. If I was in Ukraine right now and I had a hot wallet and some USDC and some Bitcoin and Ethereum, I'm on the road. I'm moving. I can probably transact. I can probably move around. I've got options. If I'm in Canada right now and I've got a MetaMask wallet, right, which doesn't have KYC, and I've got stable coins, Bitcoin and Ethereum, I would argue the government can't control me. I have choices, okay? But if you don't have these options, then you don't have those. So in our Crypto and DeFi Bootcamp, I try within 4 weeks to get you on the wallets, to have the coins, to understand how to do yield swapping, to understand how to also emotionally trade without emotions, and to have simple things like 10 coin rules, 30-day watch lists, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what we do in 4 weeks. And hopefully it prepares you for wars in Ukraine. Justin Trudeau of Canada using an Emergencies Act to freeze your bank account and even try to freeze your crypto, right? It boggles my mind. Is anybody here still can't believe that actually happened in Canada? Just thumbs up here if you can. Maybe you can. And if it happened in Canada, it can happen in the US, it can happen in the UK, it can happen in any country in the world. So it's important to understand and empower yourself. And that's what we do here in the Academy. So again, if you're new, if you haven't taken our Academy, jump in now. Our next course is on Monday, literally 2 days from now. Take 60 seconds to apply. It's londonreal.tv/DeFi. That's it. I think there's a landing page here. And now I really want to answer your questions. But again, if you want to be empowered and have these things, have it. You can literally have a MetaMask wallet. My wife has one. My 17-year-old daughter who just called me. I hope she has good news about colleges, by the way. My mom's 78 years old. She's got stable coins. If my mom was in Ukraine, at least I would feel more comfortable that she had money and she had assets that she could move. And that's what we teach in our academy. It's incredible. So if you're interested, take 60 seconds, apply. I read them myself. We start Monday, 6 p.m. UK time. Within 2 weeks, you'll be up to speed on this stuff. And then you can have control of your assets and not somebody else. And again, I'm a huge fan of crypto and DeFi for the next 10 years. I think it's the way to go. So I'm going to go into questions right now. If you're on Zoom and I can see your face, I'm answering questions. If you can't turn your cameras on, it'll be the last time we can all say hi. What's up, Paul Cowan? I'm loving that sunflower. Andrew Haynes, I love seeing you here. Andrew's the NFT king, of Switzerland. I love it. We got Ted, we got Jeffrey. So I'm going to questions right now. And I see some questions here. Boom. Oh, so John Harris says, Brian, what's your favorite source for objective information? John, great question. What I really like as objective information is when I can look someone in the eye who's a real person and talk to them. So what I find really good for information is my guest recently on London Real, because they're like a layer one solution CEO, like the founder of AVAX, the founder of Tron, the founder of Cardano, Willy Woo, Bitcoin chain analyst. And when he talks to me for 90 minutes about what's happening in crypto, I actually am talking to a real person with a real agenda who can have a conversation with me. And if I ask hard questions, they can answer hard questions. So I find real people as one of the best information sources. So that's one, John. When I see any media source, anything that's written, that's subjective, that's edited together, first of all, I get suspicious, right? Anybody else here have that same feeling? I'm like, okay, what's going on here? Because, and again, I've been in it as well. I've been on the other side of it when I was I wasn't in politics. I was running to be mayor of London, and I see what they write. And I'm always, what I do is I check up on it, and I always think, oh, what are the monkeys talking about? That's the way I look at the news. What are the monkeys chatting about? You know, when I always hear them going, ah, I'm always like, it's good to at least know what they're chatting about. So I go and I laugh is the first thing I do with most headlines. And I'm like, oh, I see what they're doing. Oh, they're trying to sell this today. Okay. So honestly, John, I stay off most of the big crypto sources. I usually talk to the people who are actually in the market. So because I've had some of the top 50 people in crypto on my show, I get to ask them live every week. I'm DMing them a lot in the background. I actually speak to my academy students who have real questions. So this is where I get most of my info on crypto. And then I talk about this in the academy as well. And we talk about real things that are happening with real people. Also, I look at the prices of these assets. The prices, are by definition the market price. It means sometimes they're panicking and overcorrecting, yes, but at least that's real information. On-chain analysis is pretty good as well because you can actually see where it's moving and how it's moving. So I think that's a really, really good source, but I don't trust any of the major news media publications. I don't really trust the crypto news desks. But when I'm actually speaking to someone, like an Emin Gunsir of AVAX, or I'm speaking to a Mans Harman of Hedera Hashcraft, or I'm speaking to Michael Saylor, who owns 7 billion of Bitcoin and he runs a public balance sheet. And I'm like, Michael, what do you think here? And he tells me. That's usually how I get my sources of information. Does that help, John? And honestly, the rest of it, I try to ignore. As I tell my students, I focus on 3 things that I can control. Whenever you see Bitcoin going sideways or down, or Ethereum, or you see crypto not going it the way you want it to go, I focus on 3 things I can't control, which are 1, my own education. Can I learn more about this space? Can I educate myself more about the protocols? 2, my own influence. Can I make more influence, more of an audience? Can I connect with more people in this space? And 3, I focus on early stage investments, things that are not already on centralized exchanges or on DEXs that I can actually invest in early stages through London Real Ventures. Those are the 3 things I focus on when crypto is going down. Quite honestly, when crypto is going up, I focus on those 3 things as well. Because while I'm making money in my portfolio, I also want to do more, which means my education, my influence, my investments. That's what I focus on. Is that helpful? And again, I focus on what I can control. I cannot control Putin right now. I cannot control what's happening with tanks on the ground, but I can control with what's actually happening around me. So that's what I do. So great question, John. I want to answer a couple more. If you're coming late to the Zoom party, turn the cameras on. Great to see some beautiful faces. And I appreciate everybody here. Also, if you can, type in and tell me what city you're in. I always love to see. We had some people here from Vegas. Big love to Flagstaff, Poland. Also, if you're anywhere near the crisis, type in there. I'd love to see that as well. So again, going to the chat here, I'm going to check on a couple of the questions. Boom, I got, okay, boom. All right, so Cheryl appreciates what we were feedback. That's good. Oh, boom, I got class in that. Boom, cool. Okay, cool. Some people are asking about wallets and cold wallets and hot wallets, which I think is a great question. So one of the big things we do in the Crypto and DeFi Academy is, as we know, in week 2, I get you with a cold wallet and a hot wallet right away, because these are some of the greatest tools. How many people in the crypto graduates here are still using their hot wallets on a regular basis, like maybe every week or every couple weeks? Look, all these hands went up. James, and yeah, okay, cool. And yeah, I mean, it's one of your best friends, right? Michael as well. And I'm telling you, the hot wallet is one of the beautiful things that you'll get more and more use out of, but most people are a little scared to set one up. Most of the hot wallets out there are non-KYC, non-AML, which means you can really go in there and not be tracked by your governments or restricted by, an invading government, and you can have assets that are yours that you can share peer-to-peer. One of the most important things that we do. So whether you come and join us on Crypto and DeFi Academy or not, definitely get in there and get a hot wallet. Like I said, I immediately got my 17-year-old daughter, Gabby, on a hot wallet after she was my guest on the show. I took her in my office. There's a video on YouTube. You can see, literally, I got her on a MetaMask wallet, and boom, she was good to go. I got my mom, who's in San Diego. I still haven't seen her post crypto. I haven't seen her last year, but she's got a wallet. I sent her stable coin. I sent her Ethereum. I sent her some Chainlink because she gave birth to me, right? That was fair. And so my mom's got the crypto and she's got the hot wallet. And my mom, her whole life only owned real estate, right? Anybody here also own real estate? Like Robert Kiyosaki, she just owned real estate. But just like Robert Kiyosaki, he now owns Bitcoin and Ethereum. So this is a no-brainer asset if you're used to owning other assets. And let me say one other thing that's really important. My 17-year-old daughter owns an asset for the first time in her life. Anybody here own an asset when you were 17? Raise your hand if you owned an asset when you were 17. What, your bicycle? Right? Joseph knows what I'm talking about, right? No, right? I mean, when we were kids, right? Not everybody is here as old as me. But when we were kids, the closest thing you'd ever have to own an asset is if you saved up enough money for the studio apartment that you bought, maybe when you were in your 30s with something you saved. That was the only asset you might ever own. Maybe a business, maybe. These days, with crypto and DeFi, we're getting young kids to own assets. And as Robert Kiyosaki, author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, said, is everybody here like Robert Kiyosaki? He's been my guest many, many times. Robert said, poor people work for money and rich people make money work for them. That starts with asset ownership. And so now my daughter owns assets, which is amazing. So I'm a big fan of using crypto and DeFi. We teach all this in our academy to get people to actually have that asset ownership, which I think is just super crucial. And I think it's something we don't think about enough in crypto. But I mean, actually owning an asset that can give you return and yields, I mean, amazing. You know, with some of your stable coins, I've got Alex from Swissborg on Wednesday. We're going to be talking about a great way to get big yields right now on your crypto, even in bear markets. This is an important step forward, and it's really, really important. A couple more questions, just put them in chat here. I'd love to see these and finish out. And again, I appreciate the time, and I've probably gone a little bit over here. Aaron made a good point. Bad news gets higher ratings and sells more papers than good news. It's true, and that's why, you know, if it bleeds, it leads. You know, which is unfortunate because we all consume media thinking, oh, it's all objective. And it's not. They really do lead with the bleed. And so you just need to be able to discern that information and consume a small amount of it if it's applicable to you. Otherwise, focus on your long-term vision. 10 years, DeFi, crypto is the place to be. Are you invested in it? Great. Then position yourself for the long term. Surround yourself with a peer group that's really good. And make sure you stay focused, invest in great protocols, and 10 years from now, you know, we'll be literally reaping the rewards and creating this incredible generational wealth. That's what's really important to focus on. And so let me take one more question, and then I just want to wrap this up by saying, look, it's really easy to get focused on these big words and these big events and to lose all faith and to think it's time to panic and dump assets. But, you know, I was telling my Kings of DeFi call last night, and Andrew was on that call. I said, you know, look, the truth is that crypto and DeFi, it's bigger now than any single country. It's even bigger than the USA, which is almost inconceivable. You know, for one of the first times in history, there's a technology play that's not totally US-centric and dominant. This is going to move forward regardless of what happens. If anything, crypto and DeFi is empowered by conflicts like this because we see for the first time, man, we really need ownership of our money. We need to be able to transfer value peer-to-peer. I don't want the Canadian government to go in and literally start looking at my finances. I mean, the last time I checked, it's my money, right? Raise your hand if you know what I'm talking about. Last time I checked, it's your money, right? You earned the money, right? But the thing is, you don't own your money. The bank is a custodian for your money. The government is a custodian for your money. You don't actually own it. And we're starting to get that realization when we see these global events happen. What can you do about it? Own your money. Have assets in crypto that you can transfer peer-to-peer without some middle person. And if you don't know how to do that, learn. And learn now, not next month. Next month might be too late. You know, it was too late for those protesters in Canada. It was too late for maybe some of the citizens in Ukraine. And it's going to be too late for you if you wait. Again, this is the time to embrace this now. It's not going anywhere. This is the future of finance. I've never seen such an explosion of finance, technology, human paradigm shift. And I'm so excited to be in this space. I'm more excited every single day when I wake up. I have a gratitude journal every morning. I'm grateful to the whole crypto DeFi markets. I'm grateful to my students in the academy because this is like a special time and place to be. So final thoughts are, let's try to keep perspective. When in doubt, zoom out. Try to process all of these events with a grain of salt. Try to look for those great buying opportunities because they're not going to be around for long. I'm telling you, we could be 6 months away where you'll be just crying at the sky-high prices of some of these crypto assets, and you'll be thinking, why didn't I buy back in February? Try not to be that person. Try to find a way to measure into these things. Try to find a way to buy those lows. Try to find a way to sell into those highs and manage your portfolio over time. Remember, you could have bought 2 Bitcoin today for the price of Bitcoin back in October, or yesterday at least. And that's just something about asset management and understanding those crypto markets. So that's what I would say. Again, if you haven't yet taken this ride for us on our 4-week boot camp, I'm telling you, send me your application now or join us. The next one's Monday, 6 p.m. Everybody loves this thing. We just finished our last course. It's amazing. We got a great community on the outside. And again, learn this stuff. Get your wallet set up. Get your cold wallet set up. Get your exchanges set up. Get your coins set up. And again, learn our trading disciplines, 10 coin rules, everything. For everybody here on Zoom, just give me one final wave. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for turning your cameras on. I appreciate you. I'm about to lose my voice because I've been talking about crypto so much this week. But look, I appreciate everybody. Stay safe. Sending lots of love to our people out there in the Ukraine. Again, we've got developers there, and sending peace and love to them. And I hope this all happens without more damage and more problems. And let's just try to stay focused. Let's try to stay focused on the long run as far as our investments and our perspective as well. So that's it, folks. Much love. I hope to see you all on the Monday night for our first call. And until then, just stay sound, keep investing, stay in touch with each other, and send love out into the world. All right? Big love. Thank you all so much. All right? Appreciate it. Bye. Thank you, YouTube. Appreciate you for being here. Thanks, Instagram. I hope you enjoyed that. All right? Again, join us inside our account.